and welcome back to another episode of Build Different by Kahua. I am so excited for today because today I'm joined by one of my good friends, Eddie Campbell. And before we go too far, because I want Eddie to have a chance to introduce himself, just a quick story on the kind of the genesis of this entire conversation. Eddie and I got to play Planes, Trains, and Automobiles a few months back in a very interesting trip to the airport. I had come out to visit the studio. Apparently, you can't get an Uber from Milledgeville to ATL. And so Eddie was kind enough to just hop in the car and we drove. And sometimes the best conversations happen in the car.
Heck yeah. That was actually a really good memory. So I'm glad it happened that way.
Yeah. And so now here we are. We're like, well, a lot of this stuff, these are topics that we could talk about for hours. And a lot of it is like just not griping, but like what in construction could we do better and how could we do it better? And so that's our topic for conversation today. But Eddie, I'll let you introduce yourself, and knowing your background kind of out of the gate, the question I'll have you answer first after your introduction is this. You've interviewed a lot of people. You've met a lot of people over the years. What makes an influential person within a company? Because a lot of people want influence, and too often we think it's whoever's the loudest has the most influence. And so like that's one of just the little things we could tweak. And you, of all people, have a really good understanding of what could be influential. So we'll start there.
It's very flattering. I'm going to try to make my introduction very long so that I can spin the actual answer to that up in the back of my mind while I do that. Yeah. So Eddie Campbell, I'm going to say I'm construction brother number one, because I came first, because I'm older. So Tyler and I have had Construction Brothers podcast for almost approaching 6 years. And yeah, we've interviewed a lot of people through that. Got the day job at ABSI, stands for Accelerated Building Solutions. So my actual job, because Construction Brothers is kind of a labor of love, is to do shop drawings, steel detailing, BIM, and the structural steel and fabrication world. And so we work on commercial projects every day. I'm very much hands-on. I'm very much hands-in. I own and operate a small business. And so very attuned to all of that. And we see a lot of project turnover, like as in we see a lot of projects throughout a year, a lot of sets of contract documents, a lot of sets of specs, a lot of different project teams, designers, owners, a lot of different scenarios that projects get built in. So that's kind of the backdrop. That's my experience. And I've been doing that for going on 21 years now. So this January will be 21 years with ABSI. Before that, I was in the field tying rebar and or even remodeling some bathrooms, working with the tools. So cut my teeth in the field and actually got to do the hands-on stuff for a little while before I jumped on the computer and started doing BIM. So, all right. So what makes somebody influential? I'm going to say that is in some ways something you're born with and not something that you just manufacture. I think some people have a knack for creating inertia around them. Creating the air that they are somebody that's worth following. And so I can say that though I have been, a talking head on the podcast circuit and everything, I've talked to a lot of people that have built a lot bigger and better and cooler businesses than I have in 20 something years. And that's not a down on me, but that is like, as I see these people, there's something about them that they're just absolutely bent on doing something, and they have a way of taking people with them. And I think they care about people. I think that is one thing that is I don't think you can run over everybody around you and get something done. I think you have to care about the people around you and do so genuinely. I think that you actually have to have a heart for the people around you, for them to actually want to know or want to do the thing with you. So I said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care type thing,
Yep.
So I think there's a lot to that. It's a tricky question. It's a great question. It's a really cool intro. I don't know if that's a very satisfying answer though.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like you have to genuinely care about the people. It all starts there. I wanted that answer to be off the cuff. I didn't want there to be any sort of rehearsal on purpose, because those off the cuff answers a lot of times are the most raw and the most real. And that's what we hope to accomplish here today with a lot of this conversation, is to be raw and real and talk about the industry. But it plays into our kind of our first question here that I have for you, in that we often say construction is a team sport. But many times our processes and even our contracts are written like tug of war, right? Who has the most pull or influence, or, who can, again, yell the loudest to be right or to litigate or do whatever they need. So how do we flip that script where it feels adversarial when really we need teamwork?
Yeah. I think a lot of general contractors are trying to figure this out. We've got a little running joke that, we've kind of hit a few times on the podcast and just around the office, but it's, you get subcontractors, steel fabricators, and, we interact with these PMs, and they're in and out of job trailers all week. And it's, they're at this meeting getting kicked in the head for what they're not going to deliver on time or what they didn't do right. And then they're on to the next one. A lot of these projects have these kind of rah, here we go, we're going to get them, let's be a team type of mindsets. And so that's great. Everybody's saying, we need to be a team. We need to work like a team. We're going to act like a team. Like, this is the construction team. And the words say that, but the actions say something different. The words say we're going to act like a team, but the actions say, I may not pick you up if you fail at something or something goes wrong. Like, if you start falling behind a little bit, rather than help, I'm gonna be here to go ahead and write you a letter, and that nasty gram is gonna come with the potential of litigation. You might share in some sort of monetary loss as a result of that. So it's an interesting thing where we get these contractors telling us this as subcontractors, and there's almost a fatigue that happens that over a period of time. It's like, yeah, rah, rah. I heard that the last job trailer. I heard the one before. But in 9 trailers out of 10, by the end of this project, I know we had the whole, kumbaya session at the beginning, but by the end of the project, we all hate each other and we never want to work with each other again. And I think the cool and special teams, the special projects, are the ones that are comprised of people that come back and work with each other again and again. I think that's an earmark of it. And so, if you want a team, just much like we were talking about, caring about people to try to wield some influence, I think that you have to care about your subcontractors, your partners, like genuinely care about them. Set up relationships, like genuine relationships, not just the relationship on paper, like looking out for them. Looking out for them contractually. I see so many times it's like the contract goes over and it's like, well, if you're dumb enough to sign it, then that's on you. But, making sure that things are mutually beneficial. Even these contracts, a lot of these contracts say they're jointly drafted. They're jointly drafted contracts that come from one side of the table and get pressed to the other. The really smart subs they're redlining, and they're making it jointly drafted. They're standing their ground, and they're making sure that, it is going to function like a team. So that's probably a little bit of a rambly answer, but having a genuine heart for acting like a team might be a good place to start. I'll say the origination point, like how we originate projects and how we start things out, also matters greatly. But I'll take a breath and let you follow up here.
Well, and because you kind of hinted at it, there have been times where you've been on teams where it actually felt like a team, and kind of that idea of there are partners of choice out there. Like, there's a phone call that you can get from someone, and when they call, you pick it up, because you know that they care about you. They've covered you in the past. Like, it's been that positive relationship. And then there's phone calls that you'll get and you'll be like, no, we're going to pass on that job. Even though it would look great on paper, we're going to pass on that one. So with that in mind, like, what are some of the characteristics of the people where when the phone lights up, you're excited to answer that call?
Those people, and I can actually think of specific individuals that we enjoy working with in this way. They treat us well. They have our backs. They don't push us into positions where we're going to fail. Like, they present opportunities for us that can be successful. They they bring us up. One of the things that I've noticed is like when you're surrounded by a good team, when you have high functioning people around you, you tend to function a little higher yourself.
Rising
I mean,
tide.
yeah, I mean, this happens in sports. It's amazing. I mean, I played on baseball teams. I mean, you go out for a casual round of golf, and some people may even resonate with this, but you go out and you play a little golf and you're playing with somebody that's good. Also, you just realize, I'm hitting a little better than normal today. I'm not as good as that guy, but I'm kind of playing up to the people around me. It's amazing what happens when the people around you have talent and their expectations. You're thinking, gosh, man, I better step up. I need to keep up with this. So that's an earmark for sure, is that they bring you up. You feel like you're a higher functioning teammate when you're around them. Like they just do that to the people around them. They let you make money. They actually want you to make a profit on it. They're not just trying to get you. And I mean, we have customers that if they call and they have a request, they have carte blanche. I mean, they're up to certain limits are scenarios where they could say, I need something and this one's going to be free. And we would say, okay, like no questions asked.
Yep.
They've got the equity to do that thing because they've proven time and again, they're looking out for us. They've got our best interest. It's going to wash out. It's about the relationship, not this one transactional thing. I'm not trying to just get this one transaction done, make sure that transaction is in the black, and then I'm out of here. Like we know we're coming back to this well again and again. And so, and they end up being, I mean, genuinely, they end up being friends. They end up being people that you feel like I can count on them. Like they got my back and you want to have their back too. So there's a lot of reciprocity in those relationships. And I think that is what makes that teamwork really go round. The reciprocity where I've got your back and you've got mine. And my dad's jokingly said a lot of projects are formed out of a contractor or somebody that's in charge saying, I'm going to watch my back and you watch my back too.
And you mentioned that reciprocity, and a lot of that's built on trust, right? A lot of that's built on, being in the trenches with one another. And like you said, genuinely wanting the other one to succeed. When we talk about the things that we need to maybe fix in this industry, like, are there just standards, like things that are genuinely acceptable practices in our everyday workflows that are actually actively destroying that relationship or that trust just because of the way they've always been done?
Yeah, and that would be a long list. I mean, it would be hard. It would be hard for me to speak outside of like maybe steel, like where I live every
Right.
day. But I can see, and I think we talked about this in the truck, like I can see inefficiencies in the steel industry with the way we design our expectations and how we lay out delegated engineering tasks and how we structure specifications, whether specifications actually agree with drawing notes. Whether the design team is actually functioning as a team itself, because that can be a problem. I mean, if the design team itself is set up in somewhat of a either one transactional way or two somewhat adversarial way, then you're not going to get a really well coordinated set of construction documents. And if that's in essence planning. If that planning, which is in drawing form, didn't go well, well, guess what happens downstream? Fail to plan to fail. And so that's the mess we're trying to sort out as subcontractors down the road. And there are plenty of things that we could do to help out. Now, naming them all out, I mean, big picture, like I want to hit you. Okay, so I thought about after our pre-call, I thought about like, what man, I want to have something that's kind of like going to hit a little bit. Let's put a little theory out. Let's play with this thing a little bit. And so I've got a theory. You want to hear like maybe a little crystal ball moment. And I may be completely off here. That's the difficulty of looking the crystal ball when you're not an actual psychic. So if you go down the road and you think about like, what do we want to happen in construction? We want projects to arrive on time. We want projects to be built to spec. And we don't want them to be over budget. Like these are the broken things about how we build. They're behind schedule, they're over budget, and they don't meet spec. They're not like up to the owner's expectation of what they actually wanted to be built.
Right.
And any of these things can cause litigation. So we, butt heads and do the thing. So what if we planned, like, what if we looked at things big picture? And that's another thing. I think we need to look big picture, and we'll get to that maybe in a minute. I think maybe we have an opportunity with AI to start pressing back upstream. Maybe a I don't want to call it a story, but maybe a new tact that we can tell people that have always done it a certain way. I know you've done it that way, but AI's here and it's changing our lives. And a lot of things are different now, aren't they?
Right.
And when they say, yeah, a lot of things are changing, we say, well, guess what? Construction's changing too. And as construction changes, construction has to leverage technologies. Construction has to leverage better contracts. Contracts have to change. Specifications have to change. The way we generate designs. Generative design needs to change and be implemented. Maybe we have an opportunity to start speaking this into existence because of technological breakthroughs that are running in parallel. They'll aid and abet, but maybe that's an opportunity for us to say, you know what? Let's go full court press and let's start talking about this. It's going to change. It has to change. This is going to drive the change. So we need to look at things differently from the outset. And maybe there we can birth a little better teamwork and a better coordinated design and better processes to get things from start to finish and start to solve the problem before it starts.
That's it. That's a really interesting point, because when mobile technology took over, 15, 18 years ago now, and real smartphones became a thing, construction didn't really take advantage in the way that it could have, or at least it didn't as fast as it could have. I mean, yeah, there's apps out there. Yeah, there's mobile devices on sites, but did it really improve processes? Production curves would say no. If we looked at graphs of construction trends over time, we're still building the same way. We just got it digitally now. But you're absolutely right. AI is different, and it is foundationally different, and it's going to change the industry. And I heard it the other day, and I even threw this out on social. People are getting tired of hearing the fact that someone who knows how to use AI will take your job, not maybe AI. But it goes a level deeper in the fact that companies that learn how to leverage AI are going to replace those that don't, right? And construction's no different at this point. So I think you're exactly right. And think of even the contract, right? You talked about the smart subs or redlining. Well, now you can throw that contract into an AI and say, where are my risks? And maybe before they didn't know, they didn't quite understand, they didn't have the legalese or the lawyers behind them to help. But now they don't need them. And that right there is one foundational change that could totally rewrite the contracting structure.
Yeah, and we are already doing this, right? I mean, this doesn't take too much wherewithal. There's a big disparity there. And people are probably tired of hearing about AI. Right, but my gosh, we're at a printing press moment in history. I mean, yeah, we should be talking about it. And you should absolutely be thinking about what this is about to do to your future. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think about it with fear. This is lighting the fires of creativity in me, because all of a sudden things that were out of grasp are in grasp. All the things that I don't think I could have achieved or gotten to, I can get there. And so now my imagination can run wild, and I might actually be able to accomplish it. So I'm excited about it.
Well, what's so funny is I remember even when the internet started to become more popular and a little bit more readily available, right? I started to appear sort of smarter, but it wasn't because I was smarter. It was because I was better at Google. I could find answers, whether it be a YouTube video or something, to explain to me what to do, because I just was better at asking or searching in Google, right? AI takes that whole thing up a notch, right? If you're good at prompting, it's 100-fold, maybe 1,000-fold what being good at searching on YouTube meant for your expertise, regardless of the industry. I mean, I remember you look into YouTube to change a light bulb on my car, right? Same is true to swap out a circuit breaker in an electrical circuit on a project when you're doing a renovation. And the quicker or the better you get at that prompting, the quicker you're going to get responses and the smarter you're going to look out on that project.
Yeah. What's interesting is how much it actually levels the field on some blue collar things. And I don't think,
Oh yeah.
a lot of people are saying, well, this won't take anything from blue collar. Hey guys, it's changing everything. It's changing everything. So, the local pool company here missed out on about $2,000 of business because I was able to take ChatGPT, turn the camera on, point it at my circuit board, and have it help me through step by step on how to order the circuitry that backed up, our pool head unit. And I was able to fix that myself in real time while ChatGPT talked me, not typing, not prompting, talked with me like it was my best friend. Oh yeah, let me help you out. I know how to fix that pool thing. Oh yeah, by the way, here's one of those circuit boards for like 30% of the cost on eBay. I found it for you. I mean, true story, right? So, there are a lot of stories with that, but a lot of people don't know. I can turn the camera on ChatGPT and point it at something and it can identify the objects in there and actually tell me something about it. A lot of people don't know. I can add a PDF to ChatGPT and it can actually read it. So like with your contract language, I can take the PDF they sent me and pass it in there and have it read back. A lot of people don't know these things yet. So that adoption curve is just going vertical, right? And then agentic AI it's here now. We were talking about it. It's coming. Well, it's here. So That's wild too. But can we talk big picture? Like I've got a thing that I don't want to get out of the podcast without hitting.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I told you I had a little anecdote about when I tied rebar, right? So we kind of walked through, early on, I tied rebar for a little while, and as a rod buster, I went out, got introduced to my foreman. My foreman made me scrape a slab for like the entire first day in 98-degree heat. And like literally just like I scraped a slab for no reason. He just had me go over it. It was just a new guy thing. Like, I don't want to do anything with you. So he sent me the scraper and said, scrape that slab. And I scraped this whole slab, meant nothing. I see slab. It was the top of a footing. I'm like early 20s. I don't know. That's how much I knew about the project. So, the longer I'm out there, the more I learn. Like, this is how you tie rebar. This is how you form. This is how you pour the concrete. This is how you run the equipment. This is how you jump in the skid steer. You learn little by little and you go and venture out. At no point did anybody ever sit me down and say, hey, Eddie, the project that we're trying to build looks like this. And I remember it was probably a year later, I drove by the plant that I worked in. It was an industrial plant. And I looked, and there's like this, equipment pedestal and some like barns that were built to warehouse kaolin, which is a mineral down here. Just all this stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I was just tying the bottom of it. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And I had this thought, and this was back then. I had this thought, well, if they'd have told me I was doing that, I might have gotten to it a little quicker. I'd have known what I was doing. But I just worked at the one thing that they were willing to put in front of me today. And that scales because the entirety of the construction industry is specialized. And as we've specialized out, that I think is necessary because there are so many things to know about construction. It's very hard. You can't be an expert in everything. Now, AI is kind of an equalizer there, but you can't know everything like that specialty contractor knows it, that deals with that specific thing every single day. So yeah, we've specialized, but I wonder for the project initiators, if we are doing a good job, and I say project initiators, owners, financiers, design builders, general contractors, like the top end, are we doing a good job of helping the people that are building the project understand what we're doing together, right? Having to sit down. Here's the goals. Here's what we're doing. And I'm going to go kind of all the way back to the beginning with the owners and financiers. I think that some of our construction problem is originating with the misinformation that surrounds the project initiation that happens right there. I think we've got some sophistication, some knowledge. I think the general contractors are trying to bring some teams together. They're trying to do something about these contracts. They're trying to implement solid practices around project information our project management information systems and get those baked in, and have good processes for that. But sometimes they're just being handed a problem that wasn't really well worked at the beginning. So I think we might need to big picture this thing as an industry and think about what we're trying to solve, like even go beyond project level, right? Just keep growing the bullseye out until we get to the big picture problem. Now we're here. Now let's start solving that. Like, what's driving us to rush through designs? Why do we keep crapping out half-baked designs and throwing them on the street and expecting people to build things and then expecting that to go well? Why do we put out adversarial contracts? Why, how can we fix that? Why, so we start to ask these questions. Perhaps why are the financiers unwilling to release more money at the beginning to try to plan well? Perhaps the teams need to be built differently. I know Kevin Sell and that, like his whole idea about how, we're going to put a bunch of people in the same uniforms on site, whether, we're a different team, because the idea is just to build the building. So if I need you to come over and help out, you're just going to help out. We're going to work it out. So rethinking like big picture, I think could be the starting point we actually need to get to, is just keep going back and present the whole thing to the industry. And I don't know who the parties are that need to be involved in that, but certainly the larger GCs and architects, but also some of these serial builder owners need to have a better understanding of what they're doing.
Well, what I think's so cool about that, or intriguing, is it becomes even more macro than the building big picture itself. Because think of Gen Z and then right behind it, Gen Alpha. We have a major labor shortage, and their number one goal is to have a purpose in life. And when you tell them what that rebar that you're tying or that slab that you're scraping is a hospital that's going to save your child's life in 10 years or 15 years, that's a real purpose. And I find it so funny that like construction kind of gets that stigma, that rap of it's a blue collar job, it's a dirty job, it's a fallback job, right? It's not something that you go chase. But when you have a purpose like that, or you're building a ballpark that's going to bring a smile to a kid's face when they fulfill their dream, even if they're 40, of going to see a game in that stadium, right? Or you build a once-in-a-lifetime nuclear plant that's going to service millions and have clean energy for that area. Like, those are all purposes. And it doesn't have to be that big, right? Like, it could be a much smaller project. I don't see a lot of purposes that can compete with that, right?
Yeah. Have we had the conversation that I set out to be a teacher? I think we did talk about this. My degree's in history.
I did too.
Right? I set out to be a teacher. My degree's in history. My dad would joke around and say, your degree's in actually, like it's in baseball. And, so history was the quick way out of school. I think I had 5 majors. I spent a little time in actually being an education major, history major, computer science major, business major, man, I dotted around. Like, my associates is in business. I got like the most eclectic degree on the planet. And then I fall out of school and, through soul searching, think maybe I want to go back and do my master's. I'm like, I don't want to teach. And I start tying rebar because it's like construction's what I knew. I am the guy that like literally fell into construction, just like you're talking about. And it was kind of like the thing I could do to earn a little money. And I did that for a little while, and then I switched jobs, switched to a new thing. And then, I finally land in the BIM world. And I can tell you, and teaching has so much purpose. Teaching, you're forming the minds of the next generation. I love teaching. I love talking.
100%.
It's part of what we do with the podcast, part of what you're doing here. It's like we're teaching and getting information and ideas out. It's so awesome. I love it. I love being in front of people and talking, it's like speaking in public. I love that. But I don't think I was meant for it. I don't think that was my primary thing. The reason I say that is because every time I'm in a building that I had something to do with, I love that. I absolutely find so much fulfillment. And I have told my wife time and again, I don't think I could have been a teacher long term. I think I needed something tangible. I think I needed, alongside of the other things that I could do, maybe because they're more philanthropy. but something tangible. I can put my hands, I did that. I can point at that. That's the thing that construction guys love, right? Like the men and women of construction that work on buildings point at their buildings all day long. Like
And
the
their
people,
families get so sick of it.
oh, that's tired. I built that. I built that. You built one component of it, but
Yep.
I built that. And there are so many things that we can, over 21 years of doing this thing, we can say, wow, I was a part of that. I mean, museums, airports, stadiums, schools, theaters, gas stations. We did a chain of gas stations. There's like 400 of them in Florida. You think about that. It's like every corner you go by in Florida, we're like, that was one of ours. Oh, that was one of ours. Most annoying ride ever. It's so fulfilling though. We
Right.
did that. And yeah, I don't think a lot of people are hearing that part of it. You talk about you're building a cathedral, right? Very few people are able to see start and finish of a cathedral when they were built back in the day. But you're brick by brick, you're building the cathedral and it has purpose. So I think we can get that in a macro sense. I think there's more to it than like we might be victims of being too job and company focused to actually solve the problem. And now that's not to say that there aren't some people that are getting outside of their companies and saying, let's get together and build smarter together. Like we got a massive waste issue. Like we got to solve for this waste issue. Like this is an environmental thing that we're dealing with here. We need to solve for this. Also, waste equals cost. Who wants to pay more than they need to for construction? We've got a lot of things that we need to get more accurate about. Stop brute forcing and start thinking through and finessing the problem a little more. If there's one stone I can throw at a lot of the current projects I'm working on, it's that they're being brute forced. I've seen a lot of those. The idea of getting it built as fast as possible and as cheap as possible is it's a brute force thing.
And I mean, if you could point at one, we've always done it like that message, I think that's it. Like the brute force, we're just going to hammer this thing through. And for the longest time, maybe that made sense, right? But like you were saying earlier, big picture, macro level, it's obviously not working anymore. And oh, by the way, the world is changing and brute force looks different today. Like efficiency, productivity, it all looks very different today for everyone else. Maybe it's time it looks different for construction.
We talked about tech. You want to talk some tech?
Yeah, I was going to make sure that we didn't get off of here before we got to tech for just a minute. So
okay, I thought of
segue.
something. Yeah, okay, I thought of something. All right. So, here's something that I think that some large tech businesses are struggling with. And so large software companies are built on code bases, essentially. Yeah. So you make money off of selling a base of code that renders itself in an app, a useful app that people get attached to. And you're trying to do that at profit, not hating. Got to make some money. And then maybe you're going to try to bring that profit back into the company and improve the product. I think some of these code bases are getting a little bit old.
Nah.
And as a result of that, I think they're getting a little stuck. You got a whole company built around this old code base that everybody's pretty dadgum attached to. And then they're going, okay, we're going to move forward. But if we move forward too fast, this thing kind of wobbles a little bit. We've got to kind of keep it intact. And I think that they're in danger right now of some very agile companies coming from underneath that don't have anything to lose and are going to be able to develop at a rate that we have not seen before. So I'll stay away from that. I'm not a coder, and I'm not somebody who can speak intelligently with any kind of like good informational opinion about how we come about the code, but I'll speak anecdotally about the apps as a user. So I think that there are some apps that probably they need to go through a really good rebuild, like a ground up, scorched earth. Let's start over. But let's face facts. If you're a publicly traded company and at the end of the year, you've got to present that profit number and you dive into your, reinvestment too much and you R&D away all your profit, shareholders don't like that. That's not good for business. So I think this is like, we're just kind of like racing toward a cliff. So I don't know. I mean, for all you quarterbacks out there that are standing in the pocket feeling comfortable, linebackers coming from behind, better start preparing for it because I think you might get sacked. That would be my, I don't know. That would be my little theory on the tech thing right now. And I don't know how popular it'd be. I don't know how true it'd be, but I don't think it's true for everybody.
I couldn't agree with you more. And we were actually talking right before we came on to record this. You mentioned your new hat.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't quite fit in those older code bases that are one size fits all. They don't always fit. And like you said, the more nimble, more modern experience built on a lot of the technology advances that we've seen over the last few years are a little more moldable. Maybe that snapback has a slide to it instead, right? And you can just get that perfect bend in the bill. Those are the kinds of hats you wear all the time.
That's right.
And when somebody shows up with a hat that doesn't fit you, you're like, crap, now I got to wear this for a week.
Yeah. You know, it's funny that I love wearing a hat forever. We've joked about that. You know, I've got my area hats that I've appeared on the podcast with forever, so much so that you're like, I didn't know if you had a sponsorship or not.
Right.
And to probably drive the analogy way too far, I think that there are some people that have like the software company's logo, like, you know, emblazoned on their arm and a tattoo. There's like, you know, a user of this, like, I mean, and I'm gonna try to be polite. I'm not gonna name names, but I mean, there's almost an identity that comes with it, right? And this is like the threatening part of AI, threatening part probably for coders right now, right? They're looking at something and going, I'm a coder. Like that's almost an identity with the, I'm a coder and I know code. You are a coder and you do know code and you know a lot more than I do. But to look at AI and say, you know, that computer, that large language model, I doubt it knows how to speak computer all that well. It just seems like an epically naive statement that, you know, I'm head in sand about what is coming for me. And I hope a lot of the coders out there are utilizing this. And I hope a lot of the software companies are using this as an opportunity to multiply their ability to grow and multiply their ability to function and to become more versatile and get out of that kind of like, oh, we're stuck. Maybe you don't have to invest quite as much in R&D to get unstuck now as a company, but there are going to be companies that are stuck on the basis of code base written by AI is unacceptable, and they're gonna get stuck on that, and they're not gonna move, and they're not gonna move fast enough. So I think it's gonna be a tough moment for them. There are going to be some others that pivot, and I think they're going to do really well, though. So,
right.
And those are some smart people. I know they're thinking about it, and I know they know more about it than I do, too. It's just going to be an interesting moment.
Yeah. I mean, some of us are old enough to remember how BlackBerry was stuck at that physical keyboard. We had to have it.
I skip BlackBerry. I'm old enough to have been a curmudgeon about having a smartphone.
Oh, yeah? How long did you carry the Razor?
I didn't have the Razor. I had the Jeezy one. You remember the military grade flip phone that Motorola?
Oh yeah, the Nokias that could like talk to text.
Well, it was a Motorola. It was a Motorola, and it was kind of like built out almost like the Tough Book. You know, like it was just I don't know. I just felt like more of a dude carrying this phone around. It was supposed to be military grade. It wasn't even camo. It was blue. Yeah, I held out on that until I had a buddy confront me, and he's like, I literally work in tech all day, every day. And he's like, why don't you have a smartphone? And I said, I don't have a good answer for that anymore. Like I need to start moving forward. Yeah. My Gen X flagging a little bit there. I wasn't as technologically adept as you are. There's a little bit of irony that I find myself on computers every day. I think my mom to this day would be like, yeah, Eddie, I don't see you really sticking with this. I just like, you like being outside too much.
Today you open up your text message from somebody and you got like 3 suggestions of how to reply by just tapping on it. Kids these days will never understand T9. Like, it's just, come on, you got to hit the button 4 times to get to the letter Q.
Well, and the breakthrough moment of the little auto suggest, like once you hit the button 3 times and you're like, oh yeah, okay, no, that's the word. That's the
Oh,
word I'm
this is
trying.
what,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
days gone by. And I mean, even wondering like, why are people going to communicate with text messages when they can just call each other? Coming to a place where the kids are like, the phone's ringing. I don't know what to do. Like, what do you do when the phone rings? You don't want to have to talk to anybody. And Tyler and I did a bit on that too. It's interesting to pull this back over into a construction conversation. It's interesting the acceptance that and the ability that the younger gen has with these apps and everything. Kind of the trope is like, oh, they don't know how to talk to anybody on the phone. But then at the same time, I watch my kids with programs or games on their computer where they can like design rooms out, like interior
hmm,
design, and they're just playing, or they're FaceTiming all the time. So they're like, that's like very normal. So we talk about the phone thing, but I mean, like FaceTime with kids like all the time. So that they're up on it. Quick story though, just on a job, we're getting a 3D model out on site with an erector that really hadn't been enabled in that way before. And I kind of went through the office and then that got back to the field. And about a week goes by and I get a call from one of the young guys, one of the young erectors. And he's like, hey, I'm looking for piece marks. I'm having a hard time. And I start walking him through what I had walked, the office through. He, there was a moment he went, oh, this is just an app? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, I got it. Like immediately from then on, he was like, download, install, load the model. I mean, just boom, 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 boom. And he's like, oh, I found it. Like just the coaching just got to this threshold. And once it came home, like, this is just like what I've done a million times. Like it wasn't scary at all. And he
right,
locked it in. And I went, that's going to be fun when we got a bunch of you out in the field. Like
right.
that's what I'm talking about. That's when all this tech, man, it's getting out into the field guys' hands, and it's actually impacting the tip of the spear. And I'm going, oh, that's fun there. Like that fear that kept it out of the field for so long, that's going away. Like the younger people that are doing the work, oh, it's cool. I got a kick out of that. It was a very real interaction. I mean, it has already made an impact on a very real project. So, hey,
That's awesome.
good news, right?
Yeah. And that's actually a great segue because you and I could go on for hours if I let it. But we got to get close to wrapping up. And so I've always loved the Construction Brothers megaphone question. But I'm going to tweak it a little bit as I give it to you because I think what you hit on just now, it's a great segue for this. And that is, if you could take a moment and leave one piece of advice for the next generation of worker, what would you tell them?
Quick and off the cuff, stay curious and be a lifelong learner. I mean, things are going to change. What's true today is not going to continue to be true tomorrow. You're going to have to stay curious, keep learning, and enjoy that. Like, enjoy the process of learning, enjoy the process that you're in. And as you adapt, that's something that I think can keep you interested in a career for a long time. So, yeah, stay curious, keep learning.
Eddie, thank you so much. This has been a dream come true. And I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
Oh, man, I appreciate the invite. Thanks for having me.
For those of you tuning in this week, don't forget to subscribe and or leave us a rating, a review, send in a comment. But we'll be back again next month with more great stories for you. Thanks for joining us today on Build Different with Kahua.